Okay, thank you for watching me on Cherie's weight loss journey. Um, it rained this morning, so I ended up getting on the treadmill. I continued doing the protein shakes. I'm feeling pretty good. I went from feeling like I was 9 months pregnant when I started this to now being 6 months pregnant. So hopefully, um, I'm getting closer to my goal of getting under 200 pounds. And I don't weigh myself, but I'll know. Snoopy, are you ready for the walk? Are you ready? Yeah, Snoopy's ready for the walk. So anyway, like I said, it rained today, and it was much cooler. Uh, that felt really good. This cooler weather has allowed me to get a little bit more sleep, right? Um, the thing about, this sleep situation, sometimes I wonder if I have to banish, you know, some insomnia demon. Who would have thought, right? That's really creative. Oh, let's make it to where she can't sleep and, you know, ends up, derailing herself in every fashion whatsoever, right? Maybe get delirious. Because they say if you don't sleep for days, that you get delirious, right? So anyway, I banished that demon. Because tonight, it's going to be cool enough for me to catch up on all my sleep, right? Um, so, like I said, it was a little cooler. It felt good to be able to do some activities without sweating. It felt good to do activities without being in pain. Yeah. Uh, I'm walking a little better, you know, and I'm patting myself on the back, right? Because, yeah, that rain could have stopped me from walking altogether. And so, even though I had to move some stuff out of the way in order to use the treadmill, I did that, okay? I didn't just say, oh, well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be, right? Instead, I'm like, no, we're going to do this walk, right? Um, and typically, I would have done just that. I'm only going to do if I'm compelled to do it, right? And only the bare minimum, okay? So I don't know, where that has come from, right? But here's one of the things, if you ever get into a relationship and you have a man that does all of these things for you, right? Including going to the store, um, just doing everything for you, and you're not getting any exercise or not even getting sufficient exercise, right? Your day consists of, I don't know, walking to the kitchen, uh, walking to the bathroom, right? You can best believe that that's going to take a toll on your body, right? Your body is going to become immobile, and you know, if you unless you're on a 500 calorie diet with that kind of immobility, you're going to gain weight. And when I say 500 calories, I'm not talking about 500 calories a meal. I'm talking about 500 calories total consumption. Because why? You're probably only taking, I don't know, maybe 200 steps just pitter pattering around the house, right? And yeah, you can take, a 20-minute, 30-minute walk to try to offset it, and then eat, a reasonable amount of maybe 1,500 calories, and have a slow gain that you can't really perceive, right? Yeah, you know, the body takes account of everything you do, right? But here's the thing. One of the biggest complaints that people have is the pain of inactivity, the pain of, having skin flap around when you are mobile. Um, and that's true. So you really have to be on at least a twice a day mobility and activity plan, for sure, right? Even as a semi-retiree, right? I know that, at first I was like, yay, I get to stay at home and do nothing, right? On the days that I'm not working. And that quickly became problematic. It's like, what? How is it that what I want to do becomes problematic? So anyway, last night and some of today, some health videos came up on my feed. And it was enough to make me concerned, because it talked about your kidney, your gallbladder, and I already kind of knew about the liver, okay? And so it talked about sometimes how you can get complications, because of your diet and with your weight, and interacting with medicines that you've been put on. Okay? What's really making me take my diet seriously was I'm on high blood pressure medicine. Okay? You know, my father died as a result of an aneurysm in his brain from a heart attack. Yeah. And it was painful to watch my father die because he didn't die right away. No, he did not. He had he had quite a bit of long hospital stay at the VA hospital and then at Kaiser Permanente. Okay? And then ended up in a nursing home. Uh, and that's where he died. Um, yeah. So I can't even put my head around how delicate, you know, and complicated, life can become when we're used to abusing and, treating ourselves bad, right? So when I got ready to take my walk, right on time, I got my Timo reward, right? I went shopping on Timo, and of course Timo, it takes about 10 days for your items to appear, and it's like right on time, you know. I've been taking the Swanson's vitamins, right, which has really relaxed me, uh, made me feel better. And then at night, um, I take a cup of the Fiber Aid. So that I've only been doing 2 days, okay? But I honestly feel like, I can feel the results a lot more quicker, I guess because, my stomach is a lot more emptier. Yep. Uh, I've noticed that, you know, exercising throughout the day, you know, is helping uh, my skin to be toner, okay? Although I haven't really been doing per instructions on the high blood pressure medicine and taking the high blood pressure measurements, okay? Um, I should probably start doing that because I'll probably need to go and do a follow-up, because one of the medicines on the videos that I was watching was saying that, painkillers, that NSAIDs, right, and high blood pressure medicine, is well, not that it's known, but it can also affect the kidney, okay? And as a result, people who have high blood pressure, They get put on these medicines and then can quickly move into now being on dialysis because they're on high blood pressure medicine. Yep. So this is when, if you feel like, you know, well, the doctor basically said make sure, you do a test, right? To see how the blood pressure medicine is affecting your body. So it wouldn't do me any good to go to the doctor, take a blood test, and I haven't been taking the blood pressure medicine the way that I was instructed to. Basically, I started out taking it once a day like I should, right? And then I was instructed that after a week of monitoring my blood pressure, take 2 a day. And I didn't do the 2 a day. Then I started slacking off on taking the 1 a day. Yep, that's what I did. So I'm not taking it serious, right? But then again, I'm also concerned that, the medical profession, will give you, these medications that can cause side effects. Okay? That's problematic to me. It's like, what the hell? So, yeah. Then I went back to watching my 600-pound life. And oh my gosh, if I wasn't triggered behind seeing this lady who had gained so much weight, she became disabled. Her husband became her caretaker. And, he was pretty much happy with that, right? He wasn't happy that he had to be responsible for her maintenance and her hygiene, but he was happy that he had an immobile wife that couldn't move, well, she could move, but not much, right? And, he claimed, he was a man and had sexual needs, right? So, of course, he probably was, clapping her all over the bed, right? And then she's like, stop it. And he's like, well, I have needs. I'm going to leave and find somebody else to take care of my needs. Okay? And so I can't even imagine how many women are put in this position, right? Where these men, claim to love you, but you're not as one, right? You're just a marriage of convenience. Because when it comes down to you hurting, they're not hurting, right? To see you in pain or even in the twin flame journey, right? You have these people who would say, oh, you're my twin, yeah, yeah, yay, right? But you guys, you know, are not on the same page at all. Okay? So it's a lot of manipulative. And here was the most sickening part, right? Is when this guy had sex with his wife right after she came home from uh, skin removal surgery. Okay? And actually uh, affected her recovery. Yeah. And so she had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. Well, she had to go into surgery. She had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. And then when she got out, you know, she started now to understand, hey, when you were immobile and this guy was bringing you food and, you know, so that you would be stuck in your bed, you know, and maybe, you know, try to have sex with you. And I can't even imagine the kind of sex he had because, oh my gosh, I don't think it was vaginal, right? Uh, she was just too big, right? She couldn't even sit up, much less, you know, no. Okay. So the end of that video was her deciding to try to course correct with him, right? And he got abusive, right? So she just knew now is the time for her to leave, right? All that fake love that he was giving her, feeding her to super morbid obesity, immobile on the bed, wanting to be her only caretaker and leaving her lonely unless he wanted, you know, to have sex with her, right? So anyway, it was kind of disgusting. And yet at the same time, he never appeared to seem abusive, right? But he would admittedly be uh, a little selfish. A little selfish. He would admit to a little bit of selfishness. But he was a lot selfish. And, you know, he had really got with this woman to basically use her, right? And I don't know, I guess kind of love her to death. Interesting, right? Interesting. So anyway, it triggered me because the men that I had gotten into deep with were men that, you know, would almost do everything for me. Okay? And yes, you know, I suffered, you know, with gaining weight. And of course, you know, self-preservation would kick in. And I was like, oh no, I have to do something about this. I have to go to work. I have the kids, right? I cannot just keep going this way. Okay? So, this is getting back to what I was saying about these feeder killers, right? It's happening more and more, right? Yes, a lot of it starts with them, stressing you out. You have cortisol, and you're like, oh, and he'll probably tell you, oh, you're just getting old, just more of you to love, okay? Then, now you've gotten bigger, and you're telling your mate, oh my gosh, I don't like the way I look, right? Well, you can do something about it. Just do something about it. Okay. That was, not what I was expecting, right? And so, you might mention, well, maybe I'll go to the gym. We can afford a gym. Okay. At least my second husband, well, honestly, I can say, they will walk with you for a while. But once I started realizing that, they didn't really care for me, they didn't really see the walking as quality time together. Okay? But it was, right? Because everybody has to work. Everybody has their own, pursuits. And then, that's away from work, whether it's a part-time job or dealing with the children or, maybe being of service, at, some religious organization. Okay? So, yeah. It really, was triggering for me because I didn't see it happening. It was very gradual. It was very subtle. And it was very quiet as it was happening. And it didn't start to get loud until I started wanting to speak up about this. Right? So then when you go to do your routine, it could be coffee, it could be taking a bath, it could be, spending time in a bathroom, I wouldn't even have privacy in the bathrooms. It's like, what is this? Oh, I love you so much, I hope you don't mind. It's like, what? I'm taking a shit here. The smell doesn't bother me. I'm like, that's not the point, right? So, anyway, that's to say that that's what I've experienced, right? And after that, it was, oh, why do you have to go and be with your friends? I don't know your friends. Then you get them to know your friends, and oh, your friends don't like me, or worse, they start having affairs with your friends. Okay? Because I can tell you that what had happened in one of my relationships was this guy, you know, was having, sex with, some of my coworkers. They may not have been directly my coworkers, but they worked with the same company. And anyway, he also had an affair with my boss. And I don't know what kind of an affair it was, but anyway, he ticked her off. And my boss knew that me and him had been together. And anyway, decided that, she would, I guess, kind of blackmail him, that she would fire me. Is that fire? Is that blackmail? If you don't continue to have sex with me, then, sexually harass. Come on. She was sexually harassing. Can you sexually harass someone that's not actually your subordinate, but is associated with an association, family or friends? I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of how it went down. And that's kind of how, me going from being somewhat of a conservative introvert, okay? Now I became popular by ways of third-party interactions. And I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't feel good at all. It don't feel good at all. So, of course, I couldn't work at that place anymore. There was a lot of sabotage. There was a lot of being targeted unjustifiably. So, this is a lesson for me that, nope, you can't be with someone or, have lovers, not even in a casual way, okay? Because it can become problematic. And sometimes, it can cause you to lose your livelihood, right? These people are playing sex games and they don't think it's a problem for you to lose your livelihood because they're fighting. It's like, what the hell? Anyway, yeah, so the cheating can cause to a lot of other problems, right? Even my neighbor, she was helping out this younger man than herself, right? She's a full-fledged senior, and she was helping out, you know, a freshman senior because he had fell ill and couldn't take care of himself and lost his place. And he was ill. Okay? Uh, I guess she didn't see no harm in that. You know, she could be of service. She could, you know, help another human being. And, you know, this human being could benefit with a place to stay and, you know, whatever help she could do for him. You know, besides just having him have a place to stay, right? Maybe the cooking, companionship, you know, making sure he's taking his medicine like he should, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, one day, you know, I came home and I had my door open and I had looked outside and there was like 2 vehicles that had pulled up, right, with young black women, you know, and they were knocking on my neighbor's door. And I was like, ooh, hell, what the hell is this, right? I told her about it. She said, oh, these were church members. They didn't have that vibe. They had a total different vibe of performers. Of performers. I mean, they wasn't cladly dressed, but they wasn't dressed in the way you customarily see, you know, a lot of religious people dress, right? Which is kind of bland, non-form fitting, you know. They didn't wear eyelashes as much as, you know, they do today. But these girls were young, wearing, you know, jeans and eyelashes and, you know, long hair, weaves and wigs. Okay? So, getting back to what I was talking about was I told her that, and you know, I was reluctant to tell her. I was, but at the same time, I knew that, you know, these females didn't really have business here. You know, they didn't live around here, you know, and they was not bringing this man a plate, okay? You know how sometimes, you know, church members would take someone a plate. No, there wasn't a plate, not near one of these 2 vehicles. 2 vehicles of females, okay? I guess this was maybe this man's last party that he wanted to have. I never asked her where she was at the time, but you know, I only told her this, you know, as a result of running into her coming and going out of the house. right? I was coming out of the house or coming in the house, or she was coming out of the house or going into the house. Okay? Now, this situation could have ended a lot differently, right? If these were performers, you know, that, you know, uh, that might have been solicited online and you know also involve themselves into criminal activity, beyond just, sex for pay. They could be robbers. They could be, who knows? Anyway, thank God, it never happened again. And it wasn't too long after that incident that I actually told her what happened. Because I was concerned. I hadn't seen her, so yeah, I was concerned. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a hot minute. You know, uh, there were some people that came look for you a couple of days ago. You know, 2 carloads full of, females, black females. Okay, black females visiting the house of a senior white woman and a disabled black man, and no plate of food. 2 carloads. Okay. Anyway, I'm sure, if it is what I thought it was, then, she probably told him, look, I told you you can stay as long as you need to, but if you have any of these call girls come over to the house again, you're out on you're out of here, buddy. So yeah, it's diabolical, the things that men will do. Thinking that, it's okay. They're a man. If they have the urge, then they should be able to, work their urges out. And it's like, okay, you can work out your urge, you know how to masturbate, right? But to these men, masturbation is blasphemy to them. What? Masturbation? Right? I would only do that if I was on my dying bed. Which, interesting enough, that particular guy was on his dying bed. So, you see, it's happening all around us, and yet we don't talk about it. We don't point it out. We look the other way as if it's okay. Right? So, of course, they feel, hey, I didn't get caught, or nobody said anything about it to me. Move it. And, you know, they just keep doing it as if it's okay. So it kind of sounds like to me that guys will do anything unless they're told not to. Okay? One of the things I remember growing up was somebody said that people will treat you however they want to treat you unless you tell them differently. Okay? So, my mind is always thinking, right? That who raises kids to do whatever they want unless someone tells them differently? Right? And of course you would assume, all right, maybe they had some etiquette, some, understanding of other people's boundaries, already taught to them, right? But I think the only boundary my mother may have taught us was don't go in her room. That was it. That was the only boundary I remember my mother talking about. And we grew up in a house that once we became teenagers, corporal punishment was kind of out of the question, because we were too big and kind of intimidating. So you don't try to administer corporal punishment to people who are big and intimidating. I guess that's one of the reasons why, females, they might get it longer than males. Okay? Because once the boy starts looking you straight in the eyes, and you start thinking about, oh man, this could be problematic if he holds resentment when he becomes a grown man. Okay? So, yeah. And they do. A lot of times they take it out on their mate or their partner or their spouse. And the only time they started taking it seriously, or only time women started taking it seriously, was when the abuse, spread it to the children. That's when the women were like, oh no, sure, you can knock me around, and know that I ain't gonna leave you because you set up this society to where I'm not supposed to be in the workplace, you know, and that uh, if I don't have a man, you know, you can literally call me a dead man woman walking. Yeah, yeah. I remember when I heard a man say that. Oh, a woman without a man out here in this world. Woman, you're a dead woman walking. Right? They set it up that way. And the patriarch gladly set it up that way. Okay? So, it's interesting now that I've accepted that, yeah, it's a patriarchy, but it's also misogynistic, right? Now, I'm looking at the women who participate in upholding or being bystanders to this misogynistic patriarchy. Okay? And I'm like, oh, it makes sense to me why I want to be alone, right? But even though I want to be alone, instead of being proud, you know, that I successfully raised 2 girls, you know, own a home, you know, do you need any assistance as a senior citizen? No. Instead, you know, I'm hated on. Okay? And I'm like, why would I be hated on? Right? And I'm still contemplating that area to this day, right? Because it's only been, you know, since what? About the 60s when women were burning bras. You know, that women, you know, had, you know, started gaining employment, degrees, property. You know, why are they so hateful? And the only answer that I can come up with right now is envy and jealousy, right? And I can't even tell you that men will say, oh, that the only way, you know, they can understand a woman is to be more like a woman or act like a woman or do the same things as a woman, right? Like paint your nails, have manicures, wear weaves and wigs, have piercings and bejeweled them, you know, and I can't even tell you how 30 years ago, you know, being in the mirror with a man that, you know, was loving on himself in such a way that I'm sort of feeling like, he was kind of comparing himself to me, right? And he was a beautiful man, but, him being beautiful or me being beautiful shouldn't have to do with any type of comparison. And this guy had both of his ears pierced, wore contacts, yeah. And he didn't say he was bisexual, but, once I caught wind of this dude, speaking in ways of, being bisexual, and then the way he dressed, I was like, I'm out of here, right? I don't care how much, we care about each other. The bottom line was, I'm not going to risk my life while you pursue risky desires. I'm just not. Okay? And that's the same thing that I feel about cheating. Right? So, here's the thing. Right? You have these men that don't want women, don't want to take care of women. And what's the answer? What is the answer? You don't want them in the workplace. You don't want them happy. And it's so weird that I keep thinking the answer that they want is for us to be a pile of goo glued to the bed. That's it. Where they can, have sex with us, demand sex from us, pop out babies, and have a short lifespan, right? Like, I don't know. What would the lifespan be? Die by 40? Like, what? It is kind of makes me feel bad about that. Right? And they'll swear up and down we're not doing our part. And it's just like, sorry, if we was here to procreate, we raise the kids, off of sweat, blood and saliva, but, we did our part. You allow us to work, we work. Back in the day, here's the thing. Men and women, they never went to church together. Right? Men would go to their church, have their understanding. Women would go to their church and have their understanding. And the main reason why is because men didn't want to be transparent with women. Okay? And then the men would be like, oh, there's no reason for you to talk about, what women have to go through. Right? Don't talk about my wife that way, before I slap the shit out of you. Okay? But in talking about, like, Will Smith's wife, right? it had brought to my attention, you know, what is it? Alopecia? Alopecia? You know, the balding, uh, the balding and hair loss, alopecia. Anyway, as you can see, I still don't know nothing about it, but I did hear something about it, right? And, you know, there was a lot of conversations that happened behind it. Well, why didn't she wear a wig? You know, why did she go out there and show her head? And, you know, it was her body and it was up to her, right? What she decided to do. So, another thing, you know, that I would like more understanding is for, you know, all of these, you know, gay men that are coming out of the closet, right? If they would start telling their story of how they first was initiated into homosexuality, right? I want to know, because that would give me more of an understanding of homosexuality as it pertains to men, right? And of course, well, why aren't you asking the women? Well, I'm a woman. I pretty much know why they're doing it. Um, and I hope, you know, that comes out. Um, you know, they always say the devil is in the details. Okay? Um, my mock is almost done. Uh, see how well we done. What? 10,000? Okay, well we got 10,000 on the marker today. So that's great. When I get inside, I'm gonna go and inspect my Temu purchase. Okay? Thankful that it didn't rain. And if you're watching, thank you for joining me on Cherie's weight loss journey and some of the emotional journalizing that I'm doing on this channel. Bye.